Hey there, my fellow author. I'm Sarah Elizabeth Sawyer, an old soul kind of writer living my dream as a full-time author and authorpreneur. But I didn't start out living a confident, creative lifestyle. I struggled with the fears and the mental and emotional barriers that so often plague writers at all stages of their author career. But the truth is that with the right knowledge, tools, and training, you can overcome those barriers. I'm here to teach you how I've developed a lifestyle that's allowed me to publish 19 books and counting. Each week, as you tune into the Confident Fiction Author podcast, you'll get clarity on the steps you need to take to advance your writing career. Whether it's developing your ideal writing routine, tackling new skills like dictating your fiction, or overcoming the obstacles life throws your way, this podcast will help you live a more confident, creative lifestyle. Let's get started. Hey there, my friend, and welcome to this week's episode of the Confident Fiction Author podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Elizabeth Sawyer, and today I'm going to talk about something that I've encountered a few times since I became an author, had my first published book, and you're going through all the feels and everything, and then reality kind of hits. And when you start meeting people who are reading your books, and you might be faced with a moment where you feel like the person you're talking to, the reader who is a fan of your books, is a little disappointed when they meet you in real life. So this is something I've experienced several times, actually. I've had many humbling moments. So I'm going to talk about when authors are not as big in real life, or maybe they're a disappointment or a letdown, and suddenly as an author, you're finding yourself in that position. And how do you keep your confidence? How do you maintain confidence in those types of situations? So I had a recent example of this, very recent, at our Choctaw Trail of Tears walk. Actually, it was the day before. We went up there. We have the walk at Tushkahoma at our Capitol grounds, and I had an appointment with the curator of the museum there. He's the new curator, and I've met him a couple of times. He's a fan of my books, and we've had some other great conversations. So he was going to give us a bit of a behind-the-scenes tour of the Capitol building, or what was called the Council House, and it's going to be featured in an upcoming series that I have going. So I was going to go up there. I love that building. I've been through it many, many times, and I was friends with the former director there. So it was really great to have that opportunity to meet with him and get some more behind the scenes of that building and the history, because the 50th anniversary of it reopening is coming up. So he had a lot of information for me. Before I even got to connect with him, though, we arrived, we signed the guest book, and was kind of waiting in the empty hallway, and I heard voices in the gift shop, so I went ahead and went in there, thought he might be in there, and the woman came out of the back office, and it's someone that I've worked with for several years who has stocked my books, and she was happy to see me, didn't know that I was coming up there. And then another young woman came out, and her eyes just popped big. And she was like, I have been wanting to meet you. Like, I'm so excited. I'm so honored. They didn't know I was coming. And she was like, I've been looking forward to meeting you. And she just started working there about 6 months ago. And so I shook her hand, introduced myself, and even though she knew who I was, I feel weird, like just assuming people know who I am. And I've done that before. And then I feel bad afterwards, like, hey, they know who I am. So I always try to introduce myself regardless and ask for their name and try to remember their name because they know who I am. So I want to call them by their first name as much as possible. So we had a conversation. I was talking with the director or the museum gift shop lady there, and who does the ordering, and we were talking about her ordering some more of my books. And then the young woman was like, can I just fangirl for a minute? Like, can you sign my book? And I was like, absolutely. And so she went back in the office to get it, and the museum director, the gift shop director, she was like, it's probably already signed, because I do typically sign those books that go there. And it was, but I went ahead and personalized it to her name and said it was wonderful to meet her, and, just wanted to give her something special. But as we were talking, and we were, talking about my books and everything, I could just kind of see on her face, and I don't know her, I don't know what the expression meant, but it felt like I might have been a little bit of a letdown to her. And this could just be my imagination, and it could just be my insecurities as an author, even though I do have that confidence as a fiction author. Sometimes when you're meeting someone in the wild, a reader who is fanning over your books and over your writing, you can just feel very self-conscious, and you're wanting to read too much into their facial expressions and into their words, and you're just wondering if you're a letdown, if you're a disappointment. And honestly, I think that was more the case whenever I was interacting with her. Is in my mind, I was already putting myself down and oh, I'm probably a letdown for her. I'm not, I'm just dressed in very casual clothes, and, my hair's not done, and I'm just kind of here for different reasons. And so I'm not in that space. So telling myself this narrative, and then what I'm going to get into in this episode is what you can do instead of letting that narrative run through your head, and what I did instead. And you already heard a bit of that, where I signed, that personalized book to her, personalized it to her in signing that book. So there's been a few other cases that come to mind with my books when I meet readers or people that I know start reading my books. And another instance was this, a friend of ours who I used to write for a local publication, and I would write historical tidbits and everything, and people enjoyed it. So I had a column there. So a friend of ours, when we were gathered around a fire pit sometime, she was like, "Oh, I was going to tell you, I read your article. I saw your article in the paper the other day." And I was like, "Oh, that's so cool. That's really neat. I didn't know that, you got that paper and that you would find my article." And she said, "Well, I don't really read that paper, but I was spreading it out for the puppies to do their business on. And I saw your article, and I was like, oh, I know her." So if you ever feel like, readers, if you've ever had just the very humbling moments, I think that was probably one of the most humbling moments with my writing that I've ever had. Another one that happened just this year was new friends of ours that we've met through an agrarian connection group that we're in. And he started reading my book, and he told me at one of our meetings, he was like, "Yeah, I started reading that, and I'm really enjoying it." And I was like, "Oh, that's great. I'm so glad that it's, meeting expectations, that you're enjoying it." And he said, "Yeah, actually, it's a whole lot better than I thought it would be." Again, another humbling moment. And I've had those at book signings and at tables and all. Typically people, and they were very gracious as well, my friends and all, but you just have those moments where it takes a little hit at your confidence sometimes as a writer, or just feeling like meeting readers in person and feeling a little intimidated by that, and like you may be a disappointment to them. And so I'm going to get into the reasons why that people may see authors as bigger, when they actually meet them and they thought they were bigger, and then they meet them in real life and they're a bit of a letdown or disappointment. So I'm going to talk about the reasons why we have that, and then some ways that you can respond if you ever find yourself in those situations. So let's get on into it. All right, so one reason that people, your readers and all, when they meet you and when readers meet authors at a book signing, and I've heard other stories of this where authors were disappointed with meeting their hero author at a book signing, and the author maybe was rude to them, or they just were disappointing overall whenever they actually finally got to meet someone that they've been reading their books for years. And I think one of the reasons that is readers see authors as creators. I mean, they are creators of universes, like these entire story worlds and characters, and they're getting to know you as an author across thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even millions of words. And that is just impossible to represent in a brief meeting. So if you find yourself in that position, just know you're just having a short conversation with your reader, and they may be surprised to find out you're just human. Like you're this creator of this universe, but in essence, when they meet you, you're just human. and you have all of this stuff packed into a book. You have years of emotion and experience and work that you have put into a series, and a 5-minute encounter or a conversation just doesn't compare. And that's something I have to remind myself of. I remember one of the first readers that I encountered at a book signing, and she was just so excited to meet me. She had read the first book in the series, and I don't think I even had any other books. Like, it was just my first novel, and she loved it. She started pulling out bits and pieces of it, and she actually started crying. It dealt with some tough issues, and she talked about how that related to her family and especially to her father and prejudices and all. And she didn't even fully comprehend that or was able to process that from reading it until she met me. And then we talked through it and all. And it was incredible to have that bit of extended time with her where, there wasn't a lot of other things going on. There wasn't other people at the table. And we were able to have a longer conversation. And I think that was just really valuable. And it was valuable for me to realize that when I'm doing a quick signing someone's book, it's just a couple of minute, very surface level conversation, that might be a little disappointing for them because the themes of my books are so deep and I tackle some really tough issues, and I'm not getting to really unpack that with them in our shorter conversations. So when I have an opportunity to have that longer conversation, it really makes the difference. And it makes me even more confident in my books and the types of stories that I'm telling, because I'm able to peel back the layers that readers are experiencing when they read my books. The other issue is you're kind of disconnected a bit from your stories. When you're writing your stories, you're typically by yourself. You're in this very, this private space that, is in your head, and then you're getting the words on the page. And that's something that you're not used to sharing that with readers. And to have someone in the flesh come up and start talking to you about these characters that were in your head that ended up on the page, and these stories and these themes, it can feel really awkward and intimidating because you feel exposed, honestly. It's like you know that someone has been so deep into your work, and that can cause me to kind of fumble around and bumble a bit when people want to have that conversation about the deeper themes. But once I get into it, it's a really comfortable place, and I love helping readers unpack those themes in my books. So with all of that, those are some of the reasons why readers may find authors a bit disappointing in real life. So let's talk about what you can do to respond, and what are some of the concrete things you can do to make you feel more comfortable, to make them feel more comfortable. Because if you're not, and there's kind of that letdown feel between you, there can, now your reader is feeling awkward, and you don't want them walking away with that feeling of disappointment. So a couple of things that I recommend you do when responding in that kind of situation is, one, go ahead and be mentally prepared. Be mentally and emotionally prepared to meet readers. And I wasn't the other day when I went into the gift shop and the new employee came out and she was so excited to meet me. I wasn't expecting to meet a reader. At the same time, I have kind of gotten trained, especially when I am in Choctaw Country, because there could be someone anywhere that pops out that is going to talk to me about my books. And so I'm already kind of prepared for that. So I was not totally expecting that. But because of my confidence level, because of the number of readers I interact with, I was almost immediately able to fall into that comfortable position of focusing on her and what she thought about the books and how it impacted her. So being mentally and emotionally prepared when you're out and about, or specifically when you're going to be at a book signing, know that people have been in your story world. They have spent hours with you in your story world, and it's going to feel different just to have that couple of minutes with them. But if you're mentally and emotionally prepared for them to come at you kind of with all the feels of your book that your book gave them, it can help you in responding. So the second thing is, be yourself. Like when I said I kind of fell into that role of, okay, I'm an author, I'm going to interact with this reader and all, I am still myself in those times. Yes, I do have an author persona that when I'm at a book signing, at a table, or giving a presentation, I do kind of put on this persona and I draw some unique aspects from that I know will really connect with my readers or with my audience. And so I will have those things, but they're integrated with who I am. And I'm doing them from my own personality and being genuine with whoever it is that I'm speaking with. So absolutely be prepared to interact with readers and know that you're like a movie star to them, but still be yourself. The other thing along with that is being gracious. This is something that I've had people compliment me on whenever I was at the Library of Congress's National Book Festival. That's a long title, but I like to get it all in there. So my book, my first nonfiction book, Otis W. Leader, The Ideal American Doughboy, it's a World War I biography. It was selected to represent the state of Oklahoma at the Library of Congress's National Book Festival. So we had the opportunity to fly out there, my mother and I, for the festival, which was incredible. My press paid for most of my way and just really got things set up for me. So at the book festival, they had given me 30 books to give away, which was so fun to just sign books and give them away. I wish I could do that all the time at my book tables, but they did. You're not allowed to sell there. The bookstore sells at the festival, but you can give books away. So my press provided me books to just give away, and it was amazing. Chickasaw Press, if I didn't mention that. I love them. So I was sitting there and signing books and all, and a couple of ladies from the press were there, and the Chickasaw Press were there, and my mom and one of the ladies were talking, and my mom told me later, she was like, yeah, Tori was just saying how gracious you are and how well you interact with people and how special you make them feel in that moment, how gracious you are to them, essentially. And I was like, I picked that up from one of my favorite singers, Jason Crabb, gospel music singer, and he's been at our Choctaw Labor Day Festival several years, like the last 20 years. And afterwards, he always has, hundreds of people in line to get to sign and just hug him and spend that time. And so I've actually observed him a lot, and I'm like, when I grow up as an author, I want to interact with people the way he does. He makes everyone feel so special and like they're the only person on the planet that matters in that moment. Like that is where his focus is, and he is just spreading joy and love in it to every single person that is just a super fan of his, and it's like they're his only fan, and so that's what he's focused on. So that's what I do, just really try to have that spirit of graciousness. Not that I do it as well as he does, but that's something that I love to imitate and model, and just really making people feel special and feel like this is a tremendous moment for them, because I want to recognize that. I want to recognize that this is huge for them. Yes, you may be sitting there and signing a couple of books. You may be signing dozens of books, hundreds of books. The number doesn't matter. That one person that is standing in front of you right then, they've waited in line or they've hunted you down at that event and they want you to sign their book. It's a huge moment for them. And I want to treat that moment with that care and with that grace that will let them experience the most joy and love that they can from me at that time. So being gracious. The other thing is being humble. I do see a lot of authors, I think it's not even so much humility. I think it's just a lot of authors are so introverted that they just don't make that effort all the time to pour forth that joy and that love and that special significance to their reader when they're coming up to get their book signed. And it's more just, oh, another book to sign and what's your name, put it down and go to the next person, kind of smile, nod, and go to the next person. And I understand, especially if you have a line that's, 3,000 people deep, you can kind of get that way. And I'm not saying all authors are that. I've just observed some at book signings, and it's just not really seeing the person that's in front of them. So I don't think it's a lack of humility or that they're being uppity. It's just most authors are introverted and they have so many people that just flood them with all of these compliments and telling them what their book means to them and all. So just maintaining a spirit of humility and being humble, that for me, I feel amazed. Every reader that comes up to me and they're like, telling me how much my book means to them and how special it is, like it's humbling to me. And I want to always maintain that spirit of humility and just humble myself of, I'm so grateful that you loved my book. I'm so grateful that it impacted you. Like, this is not about me. My books are about my readers. And I always want to maintain that attitude so that they can feel that specialness and it stays with them long after we meet. Another instance that I just remembered, I just had another recent one where I was at a Choctaw clinic and I was waiting to check in, and I hear someone say, Sarah Sawyer? And I was like, yeah, that's me. Am I getting called back for my appointment? And she's like, no. It's like, you write books, right? Like, I just read your book. I was just in Durant and got a copy of your book, and I loved it. I can't believe I wanted to meet you. Like, this is amazing. And she worked there at the clinic. And so that was, talk about not being prepared. I was not in any way thinking that there would be someone there who recognized me from the picture on the back of my book that's like 12 years old, that picture. So for her to even recognize me, I thought maybe she had seen it on my chart. But that was special. And then I just immediately wanted to start talking to her, though, about what she thought about the book and what it meant to her, and just helping her process her emotions around it. And she had some emotions. So that was neat. And just, if you have that opportunity to meet someone, just maintaining a spirit of graciousness and humility can go so far in making that a memorable, special thing for them. The other thing you can do, I know I kind of went off on tangents on those, but ultimately just remember, be yourself. So the other thing that you can do is give them some behind the scenes goodies to make them a part of the book or a part of the story. And especially if you have a little bit of extra time, like, share something with them that no one else knows about, or that hasn't come up in an interview, or it's not on the back cover, it's not in any of the reviews. It's something that you just get to share with them and makes that moment even more special. One of the things that I like to do, especially when someone has a copy of Touch My Tears, which was my first book. It was a short story collection I did with 9 other Choctaw authors. And so that book, Touch My Tears, and my book, A Numpa Warrior, Choctaw Code Talkers of World War I, both of those books, if someone's bringing those up, if that's that special book, I like to tell them, hey, that's my brother on the cover. And they're just amazed. Like, that just makes it more special. They're like, wow, he modeled for your cover. And I'm like, yeah, he's cheap, Choctaw, and handsome. So that's what I like to share. So he's been gracious, annoyed sometimes, but very gracious to let me use him as a model. Actually, he's very honored, especially being on A Numpa Warrior. He's like, wow, I look like I'm really in war. So I like to share those bits of behind the scenes goodies that they may not get anywhere else, and they had no idea that this was something special about the book. And so that gives them that inside connection that helps them not to feel like disappointed or let down with meeting you as an author, because they're like, wow, she shared something. Like, yeah, she's a real person, which is kind of disappointing. I thought she was, larger than life. So that's a little disappointing that she is actually human, but then you can build that back up again, and give that larger than life, not making yourself larger than life, but just the experience, that larger than life experience that they can have with being with you. And so that just makes them feel special. And that's really what I'm going for in every interaction, is just making people feel special, that they got to meet the author of one of their favorite books, or the series that has just had such an impact on them. So it just unpacks it and makes it from, oh, they're actually human, to, oh, wow, that is actually as special as I thought it would be to meet them in person. The other thing that I like to do is ask them what they enjoyed about the book. This is if I have a little bit more time, and depending on what book that they read. I ask them who their favorite character was, and that's only if they feel chatty. Like, if there's someone, I can detect if they're more introverted, like they're very excited to meet me, but they also feel very shy and intimidated about speaking. So if they feel chatty, I will ask them who their favorite character was, what they loved most about the book, and let them share during that time. Otherwise, know that they most want to hear from you. They want to hear those behind the scenes goodies that they're not going to get anywhere else. They just want to hear you talk. They want to hear you voice these things about the story that they found so special. And that can really make it that special moment for them. All right, my friend, this actually went a little longer than I thought it would. And I have a lot of other stories that I could share, examples of when I could sense that I was a bit of a disappointment or a letdown when my readers find out that I'm just human. I'm human the same as they are. And yes, my superpower is to create these fantastical fictional worlds, but I have found ways of still making them feel special and where they can walk away just filled with joy and contentment that they were able to meet their favorite author, and in the end, they were not disappointed in who they met. All right, my friend, that is all for this week's episode of the Confident Fiction Author Podcast. I hope you have a great week of writing, and I will see you in next week's episode. Meanwhile, take care.